today, presented by Hollywood Entertainment and our sponsor, State Farm Insurance. Kincaid is waiting on your call, 314-997-3339. He's located at 8429 Olive in University City, and he's ready for you. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. My name is Tony Dean. I am the co-host of the Sports Extravaganza, and I'm here with my partner, my buddy, my man, head basketball coach for University City High School, Coach Kelvin Lee. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing great, Tony. Appreciate you, man. Again, I always have my shout out, right?
That's right.
Shout out today, but again, it's going to be, again, I just want to say shout out about, again, we had our first weekend high school, and again, it felt like football's in there.
Yes, it is.
The football season started, and good luck to all the football teams out there and the players. And again, U City plays today at Hazelwood West. They're playing right now, as a matter of fact. 10 o'clock game, no spectators, but that's okay. Hopefully, we get a W. But again, I just want to give that shout out. But I want to get right back to the show now, Tony, because we got a special guest on today that has a lot of ties with me. I've been doing our special guest for such a long time. I had to give him a call, and Chico Jones, the assistant coach over there, told me to call him and get him on. But yeah, I feel like I've been doing our guests all my life because again, basketball, we know some of the same people through the coaching ranks. But again, I'm really looking forward to hearing our guest today talk about his journey and some of the things he's been through in life. And he'll just talk ball with him. But I'm going to turn it back over to you, Batman, and I want you to get this show started.
Well, I'm not Batman. He's Batman. I'm Robin. But anyway, we're definitely going to get the show started right with a young man who has done very well at the University of Missouri St. Louis. And he continues that. 20-win seasons now, back-to-back. And we're looking for more. And he's going to give us more. A lot of people know him, of course, as John Sunvall's brother. He's a little bit more than John Sunvall's brother. He's an excellent head coach, and he's going to tell us about his journey through the coaching ranks and what he's doing right now at the University of Missouri St. Louis. Bob Sunvall is here with us. How you doing, Bob?
Good, Tony. Thanks. Kelvin, thanks for having me. This has been great.
Appreciate that.
I've enjoyed watching your guests and your podcasts and learning a lot. You know, it's kind of fun to see Coach Irons, see Coach Niels, guys you've known for a long time, and find out a little bit about their story. And it's always interesting, so it's a pleasure to be here.
We're going to find out about your story today.
I'm glad to be here.
You know what, Bob, it's all about relationships with us, and we've always had a relationship, and we're going to continue that relationship. But again, with Floyd Irons, like you were saying, a lot of people didn't know that we were friends, we got along, but we really did.
Sure.
And that's part of our podcast here. Again, letting everybody know that we can have a relationship and continue. But I appreciate you being on.
Thanks very
What
much.
was it like for you? I want to know, first of all, you know, Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Yeah.
What was that like growing up in Sioux Falls? Basketball. How did you get started with basketball?
Well, we had 4 boys in our family. My dad was a salesman, and we were in Sioux Falls. Then we were in Canton, South Dakota. Then he got transferred to Nebraska, and sports really kind of held our family together. We'd move, and you'd wake up every day. You knew you had 3 brothers you were going to do something with.
That's right.
You know, you were new in that town, and we made a couple of moves. And whether it was football, we were playing 2-on-2, and basketball, we'd be playing against each other, or running track. We had a pole ball pit in the backyard. So our brothers were key, you know, in all our moves. But I really think the moves all helped. And then our family moved after I got out of high school, and they moved to Blue Springs, Missouri, which later on really helped my 3 younger brothers because they got in a better system, they got in around better coaches, and then of course for my brother John, it ended up turning out fantastic for him as far as going to the University of Missouri in his career. But my 2 middle brothers also benefited by their moves. One of them became a real smart engineer, went to Rolla and got his degree in engineering. And he's 2 years younger than me. He's already retired and been retired for a couple of years, so he was smart. And then I've got another brother who's been in retail, and he's retired down in Arkansas. So they've all done really well.
Well, you're doing well too. You're a lifer. There's nothing wrong with being a lifer in the basketball.
I haven't found anything else to do when I grow up. You know, and I think a lot of coaches get that way. They keep saying, well, how long do you want to do this? What do you want to do? I don't know what else I do. And I've had some opportunities, not on my choice, where I did get to coach, that I had to figure out something else to do, and I didn't like it. So I'm happy to coach. I'm happy to be around the age group of guys I'm around. I love being in college, and I think it keeps you young, and I think it really gives you some relevance in what you're trying to get done.
All right. All right. Well, before we get to Umption, I know there's some questions you have for Coach too.
Well, I'm going to start with, we have a great friend in common. Well, a couple of great friends in common, but this particular friend from the heart, Coach Punal.
Yeah, without a doubt.
You spent a year with Coach Punal, right?
I had 1 year coaching with Charlie in Springfield.
Talk to us about your experience with Coach Punal.
Well, I think really to get there, how I got there was I got let go at the University of Missouri, and it was really a tough time. I had young kids, really didn't know if I could get a coaching job. And Charlie called out of the blue one day, and he said, "I've got a real bad job, but I'd love for you to look at it and try to see if you can make it work." This is back when they had part-time assistants, and your salary was going to be about $6,000, or maybe it's
Been there.
tuition everybody has. And I remember going to my wife and saying, I don't know if this is going to be, it'll work out, but I want to look at it. And she is from Springfield, Missouri. She's got a great family. And we looked at it and we figured out how we were going to make it work. And we got down there. It ended up being maybe the defining year for me as a coach. It defined what I wanted to do, what I believed in coaching, and really got me maybe more excited about how much fun you could have in coaching. And you've been around Spoon, and you've worked for Coach, and I really never enjoyed a year more in my life. And it truly was a great thing. And then that year, we had some difficulties in the early season because we had 11 new players. And we ended up winning 14 out of 15, winning the Missouri Valley, and going to the NCAA tournament. And I get a coaching job out of it. I get to go to Central Missouri as a head coach.
Great.
And about 2 days later, we're at the Final Four, and Charlie gets me up in his room and he says, "Hey, I'm going to take the SLU job." I said, "You're what?" "I'm going to go to SLU." And he said, "And look, I'd love for you to think about this, but he said, you really need to stay where you're at. You're going to have a great head coaching career," which was great advice.
Right.
But it was really just a phenomenal year to find out how Charlie coached, how he treated players, how he put things together, and just, and the other end of it, just learn how to have a little fun in this profession, because I think we get bogged down on a lot of the wrong things, and it was really a helpful year for me.
Let me ask you a question. How much did you laugh during that 1 year?
Well, and then that's what people don't understand too, though. When you go to practice, there's not a lot of laughing. That 2 hours of practice, that was the other thing I loved about Charlie was I had the same kind of, Norm Stewart had the same philosophy. You don't practice long, but you practice hard. And then you get done, and then you get on your other stuff. But people always would say, well, our Spoon's practice is fun. No, they're not fun. They're hard. And then our game's fun. No, they're not fun. They're hard. But everything else is kind of fun. I mean, we had a lot of laughs. Charlie was able to find the humor and the joy in a lot of things that were going on. And it was with the players, and it was with their families, and it was with boosters or whatever. But it was really good. But man, I'm telling you, for that 40 minutes when the ball's being tipped off, Kelvin, you sat there. There was a lot of intensity going on that little Bears bench that I was on, and then you were to go, because I'm sure there's a lot of intensity.
A lot of fun, but Spoon would look at you in one particular way. You couldn't help but just turn around and walk out of his office. And he'll turn his head to the right or left. I'm like, Spoon, you crazy, man. But he loved Richard Pryor. That was one of his favorite deals too, man. We had a lot of fun with
boxing. Get him to talk about boxing.
Oh yeah, boxing great.
Richard Pryor. My favorite though is if you come in his office and you say, "Hey, I think we ought to do this." Or maybe we ought to recruit this guy, and maybe the worst thing you can get is, "You are some kind of a rockhead." You call you a rockhead or whatever, then you turn around and go, "Okay, maybe it wasn't a very good idea." But he was a special person.
And he loved the Cardinals.
Oh yeah, definitely did
he loved the Cardinals.
But honey, he went from one Spoon hour to another one.
Well, Tony, the really funny story is I go to Central Missouri. Jay Spoonhour, Charlie's son, is playing at Pitt State in my league. So before the game, Jay's a senior. Jay comes in my locker room. He's got his resume. He's got it in a manila folder, and he hands it to me. And I go, the heck are you doing? He says, well, I want to go into coaching. I want to come work for you. Get the hell, I said, get the hell out of the locker room. Get out there and get ready to play ball, you know.
How about that?
Well, so in the game, Jay breaks his nose. Jay gets a broken nose in our game. One of our guys and him kind of run into each other, and he gets a broken nose. So that night, now this is pre-cell phone, so that night I get a phone call. It's Charlie. He's in St. Louis, but he calls and says, you broke my kid's nose? I said, hey, the good news, he's going to get a job out of it. He got a job.
All right.
And I told him, I said, hey, he brought in his resume. And so then Jay came in with a grad assistant in Central Missouri for me for 2 years. And then went to SLU when Charlie was able to bring him on. And then years later, I kind of helped Jay with the Eastern Illinois job. I knew a couple people that knew somebody that could maybe help him. And then he gets the head coaching job. He calls me up. I'm harboring in Toledo, Ohio, not coaching and not happy. And he said, well, you're coming, aren't you? I said, what do you mean? Well, he says, come on, I want you on our staff. Okay, I'm there. So had a great year working for Jay, and then his wife Nicole and the kids. It was a great year.
What did we say? Relationship.
Yeah.
All right, Coach, again, I'm going to go back. Talk to us some about Mizzou.
Okay.
We've all been through ups and downs. You had some great times in Mizzou with Coach Stewart. Coach Stewart's a great coach. I know him real well, too. So, again, let's talk to us a little bit about your time in Mizzou.
Well, again, Charlie was great for a year, but the 13 years in Missouri was defining for me. I learned how to coach. I learned how to work. Not just from Norm, but like he had guys on his staff, Gary Garner, Gene Jones, George Schultz. These guys, they would take a young guy and say, no, this is how you do this. This is how you come in here every day at age 15, you dress right, and I'm 22, 23 years old, trying to figure it out. And interesting story about getting to Missouri was I had graduated from South Dakota State, was going to go to law school. And my coach tells me before I leave, he says, I always thought you'd coach. And I said, well, yeah, but I'm not interested. I think I'm going to go this other route. And he said, well, just, keep us in mind. It's great having you. And I may be one of the last guys to thank him for my scholarship. I did. I appreciated everything. I thanked him for everything. And that following summer, I get back to Kansas City where my parents live. My younger brother's coming up. He's going to a lot of camps. So I'd go with him. The guy would say, hey, you want to come teach shooting? Hey, you want to talk to the camp? You want to do this? You want to do that? So I started liking it. Calvin, you might remember the day you started thinking, hey, maybe I should do this.
Exactly.
And so I called my coach. I said, how do I get into coaching if I wanted to do it? Well, you've got great timing. We just have a GA job just open. You come back. So I went back to South Dakota State. So it was a year that he let me try everything: recruiting, scouting, JV, coaching the JV team. And in the middle of that, he says to me, now, if you want to do this, you should move on and finish your master's somewhere else. Well, my college coach played in the North Central Conference at South Dakota State. And Gene Zoll was a great player. And in the North Central was Norm Stewart was at Northern Iowa. That's where he played. And so behind my back, Gene had called Norm and said, I got this guy that you should really look at as far as getting on your staff, getting his master's, and then finding a different job or whatever. And so the year was 78, and Norm's team was 6th in the Big 8, yet they won the postseason tournament and were going to the NCAA tournament with a losing record. And he had said, why don't you come down during spring break and take a look around and see if you can get to school. So I drive down from Brookings, South Dakota, go around campus, meet with him. I have lunch with Norm and his staff 3 days before they're going to go play in the NCAA tournament. Now, that's just, I still think back about this. They're going to play Utah. And I go to practice, and I'm blown away at the practice. I mean, I'm just blown away at the effort, how dialed in their guys were. I was just, so after the deal's over, practice is over, I come down on the floor in the Hearn Center, and he said, well, what do you think? And I said, it's pretty good. Can you get in grad school? And I said, yeah, I got in grad school today. And he says, okay, hey, call Gary Garner in June, and we'll get it all worked out. But yeah, come on and help us. Now, and I think it helped that I had name recognition. I had a younger brother that was a good player, and so I think that helped. But years later, I asked Norm, I go, what was the deal with the interview with me coming down? I go, I just wanted to see if you had a ward on your head or anything about you. But It really wasn't anything except, I think, like everything, you want to connect and find out what guys like.
Yeah.
And so then I started there with no pay, no anything, but I got my master's at Missouri. And then I ended up, every year I was going to leave. I interviewed for different jobs, didn't get them. And every year Norm would figure out a way to keep me. All right, hey, we'll let you eat at the training table next year so you can have all your meals. Or the next year it's, hey, we're going to help you, you're going to make a little more in camp, you're going to stay a little longer, whatever.
Right.
And so it just, Gary Garner gets the great job. I'm going to go with Gary Garner to great. There's no doubt about it. Hey, Gary's up in Des Moines, just got done with his press conference, calls me up, and I says, man, Gary, I'm so thrilled for you. When you need me up there? He goes, I got bad news. You're not coming. What do you mean I'm not coming? He says, no, you're staying. You'll talk to Norm tomorrow, but you're staying. So every time it would happen, I'd stay. So it ended up being a great 13 years. And that run in the 80s we had is just historic. And, I still look at the banners, and I'm still pretty amazed at all the things that we had to put together.
Yeah, talk about some of those players that you had.
Yeah,
came through there.
that's what's up.
Some of the players.
Well, first off, you had Curtis's teammate, Steve Stepanovich. I mean, it was just fantastic. Larry Drew out of Kansas City was already there when I got there. And so when you walk in and you're a GA, and you've got a guy like Larry Drew, who is a special talent,
Leader.
and you're just trying to figure out, okay, how do I stay out of Drew's way?
Right.
I'm not coaching Drew. There's nothing I can do. And then what's fun is to still be friends and to watch Larry's pro career go and watch his coaching career. But just all through the '80s, from Derek Chivas to Anthony Peeler, to Doug Smith.
Yeah,
And then go back. Ricky Frazier is singularly the toughest player I've ever been around. Toughest.
So that's the basketball family there now.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. And what a terrific talent and just the toughest guy I've ever been around.
Yeah. And speaking of great players, you got to talk about your UMSL program. You got to talk about the University of Missouri St. Louis. Let's talk about some of your top seniors. Marty Jackson.
Tony, I think we got the greatest core group of guys that maybe we've been able to put together, and it happened 4 years ago. And with COVID, some of these guys get an extra year. But our seniors that are coming back, Shane Lissing came from Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Jose Grubbs came from Joliet, Illinois. Steve Webb, Westminster Christian here in St. Louis, and has been a big-time leader for us. Yakima Rhodes is a senior, came from Springfield. They went to Parkland Junior College. And then Marty's a center, 5-man. I don't think anybody wants to be called a center anymore. He's one of the best post-up guys I've ever
Post guys. Yeah.
but no, we've got great leadership, and the COVID years helped. But I also think the thing that, and I told the guys this last week when we started, we had our first workout Thursday, and I said, I want you to know how appreciative I am that nobody entered the transfer. Nobody thought about finding their best deal. Hey, what's in it for me?
Yeah.
I want to get my thing. And so either we're doing it right or we're just so darn easy and they got no way
That's a credit to you, Coach. That's a credit to you.
Yes.
I think it's just been a great group of guys that have mixed well and they get the whole picture. They're going to get a degree. I got 2 guys in grad school. I've got 3 other guys going to graduate in May. So they all get this of what they came to UMSL for. Now, we've had great success. We got our first NCAA tournament team 2 years ago. We didn't get to play because of COVID. But, when you walk in a gym and you see banners, I'd walk into UMSL gym and I'd look up and I'd go, okay, 1972. Okay, I know who's on that team, Burnson, Giles, all that. 1988, okay, Pills was on that team.
Chris Pills, yeah.
But that was it.
Yeah.
All right, so 1988, and now you're looking at a blank, and as a head coach, you're saying, okay, when do we get a banner? When can we hang our numbers up there? And so it wears you down a little bit, but you also have to have that hope, like, hey, we're going to get the right group of guys in here, and they're going to make it work. They're going to figure it out. And so it's real rewarding to see this group of guys, most of them all back. They're going to get to see if they can get another great year under them and they're playing the tournament.
Well, basketball people know what you're doing, but your fan base, now that you were able to put 20-win seasons up back to back, they're like, oh, okay, we got a team here.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on now.
Yeah. Tony, we have good fans and some diehard fans. I've also laughed a little bit about it. I think if I was 35 years old, I would be worn out because you don't have great attendance in St. Louis in college programs, whether you're married or Wash U. I remember Mark Edwards coaching at Wash U. He's got the #1 team in the nation. And I'd walk in on certain games because that was another thing great about Wash U. They don't take you don't pay admission. You go in, there's the program, you go sit down, and you watch great basketball. And there might be 300 fans, 400 fans. And so you can't let that be all consuming for you about who comes to your games or who pays attention. But I have really good friends who will say, man, Coach, you had a great year. And I said, yeah, hey, just try coming one time. Come to our game one time. See what you think. And then the other deal we talk about with our recruits in camp, in town or on the road or wherever, if we can get them to a GLBC game, they're blown away. They can't believe how hard it is and how difficult, how good the talent is, how well coached teams are. So it's just been great. It's great fun, and the competitiveness of our league is just fantastic.
Coach, I got a question for you. You just said the word recruit. What do you look for when you look at a player and a recruit? What do you look for?
Well, we always have, you got skill on your mind. Hey, can you shoot? Can you dribble? Can you pass? Whatever. But we were talking before. One of the greatest stories is Steve Webb. Okay? And Steve Webb's high school coach, Dale Ribble, played for me when I was at Missouri State with Charlie Spruill. I was on that staff. So Dale was on the staff here when I get the job. I keep him. He works with me for a couple of years. Then he gets the Westminster job. Anyway, he tells me, don't not recruit Steve Webb. Don't go sleep on Steve Webb. He said, you're going to love him. And Steve didn't shoot it real well. He was a great football player. He was tough. He personifies now what you got to find, intangibles. So they get beat in a district game, and I'm standing outside the locker, the door's opening up, and I look in, and Steve Webb is bawling his eyes out. He's crushed.
Right.
Which we don't see that all the time anymore. A lot of times a high school guy is done with his game, he's thinking about AAUs next week.
I agree.
That's
right. Here we go.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I go back to my staff the next day, I said, we're offering Steve Webb.
All right.
And then he's paid us back. 2 straight years, the GLBC defensive player. You can't get him off the court.
Wow.
He has flaws, but he hides them. And he doesn't let anybody else see it. And he just is tough as hell. And so he changes on your recruiting. We still want, hey man, I want the 6'7" guy that can really shoot it and really do all that stuff. But I probably don't get that guy. He's going to move up the ranks. It's the food chain. And so I got to look for the guy that, hey, is he a little tough? Is he a gym rat? Does he like playing? Will put in the extra time? Those guys are key for us at Elmsville.
And that's helping your program. And it's a great trade-off because, hey, it's a good college position, good college career out of it, and good college degree.
Yeah. And Tony, that's the other thing. When you're at a school, and it can be, and people look at my resume, I've been at a lot of schools. The one thing I've always been glad about is I think every one of them have been real good educations. So I can tell a parent, hey, your son comes here, he's going to have a good degree. That's always the one thing you worry about 20 years later if some guy would call you up and go, hey man, this degree's not anything.
Right.
I can't get a job.
Or you just use me.
Yeah, I can't get a job. But that's where I think we're good at Elmsville.
Well, Coach, I know you're doing a great job because there's one lady on your staff over at Elmsville that thinks you're doing a great job. That's Laura Flanagan. She's still the AD.
Very, very good.
You're the AD. Yeah. She thinks you're doing a phenomenal job. You're winning games. You're graduating your players. And that's what's more important than anything.
So you know this too.
She was with me in SLU, by the way.
Yeah, I know. And so what makes a good job, Tony? You know what really makes a good job? The people you work with. The people you work with, who you work for. Hey, how's your administration? How's your athletic director? Do you get to walk in there? And like I got an AD, I walk in her office, I can talk about anything. She comes in my office in a minute, she's got something on her mind. And we have a great working relationship.
So keep on saying, Coach, relationships, over and over relationships.
I went in, we just had an assistant coach turnover. I had a former player of mine was on my staff, Shea Sumter, was doing a great job, good young coach. Well, he wanted to make more money, got out of the profession, found a better financial package for himself and a business that he wanted to do. And so I had to open it up and talking to some different people. So it came up a bunch of times, well, Coach, how long are you going to coach? And so I went into Lori and I said, Lori, how long do you want me to be coach? She said, well, as long as you want. I said, well, just to tell you, I only got 1 year left in my contract. And she had renewed me a few years before, and she just said, oh my God, I forgot. So she gets the file out. She goes, this is going to be your last year. So she gets with the chancellor. They give me a contract extension to 2025.
Right.
But what I want to do is assure this new young assistant I got that, hey, don't worry, you're going to be able to come in and you're going to be okay. We're going to be around. And again, it just, I think the appreciation you have for school and for the people you work for, you're right. Lori's been the best.
I love that.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I love that, Coach, because you're like family.
Well,
You don't think about that. You know, family's just around. Oh, we gotta do something about it.
Yeah, well, she's had a lot on her plate with COVID and all this other stuff. That was the last thing in her mind was like, hey, is our basketball coach's contract up? She wasn't even thinking. But I'm real happy about that. And I think my wife, even though our kids are all grown and they're out, and I think she's just ecstatic that like we've not thought about moving one time in the 8 years I've been here. You know, and you know how that is, Kelvin.
Yes, sir.
Tony, so many coaches get into their profession and they're starting always, what's the next move?
Right.
What's the next move?
Exactly.
And then we start worrying about the next one and we're not doing the one we have.
Exactly.
You know? And I remember coming to Umslow going, man, I'm getting a great shot to be a head coach again. I never thought I'd get a shot to be a head coach again. And I leave Eastern Illinois and Jay and come in here. And I knew there were issues. Hey, I know if Uncle's not hanging banners, it's not been always because of coaching. And it isn't always because of players. There's something there. But you find the issues, you start working around them. But no, this is the first job maybe in a long time that I haven't been into that April fever, Calvin, where you go, I should be looking at the transactions, reading Boot Dirt, and finding out what's out there.
You get a chance to build a basketball family, consistency, and you also get to build up, you know, wins, yes, but it's a true imprint that you get to put on the court.
Yeah, and I think a little of that is over. What I really want is that anybody that played, you know, I had a conversation on the phone the other day with a guy named Dave Kincaid. Now, none of us know him. I mean, he played here in '73. He came in right after the '72 team went to the Final Four, Burns and Dallas, that group. And he played at the same junior college I played at in Nebraska. And so I'd found out about this. So anyway, I'd left a phone call for him. And he called out of the blue the other day, and he just says, Coach, I can't believe. Now, he lives in South Sioux City, Nebraska. He's an optometrist. And he said, I can't believe I haven't followed what Umslow's been doing forever. I'm going to follow it now.
Yeah.
But those are the things that are fun about being in a program. And you find out about different people, you know.
Well, Coach, I'm going to throw one more name at you real quickly.
Go for it, man.
Again, we're talking about relationships again. You got one more person on your staff that I've been knowing for years. He was with me in Chaminade. He's the head trainer there. Yeah, Mike Berry.
Mike Berry
was a great guy. He was supposed to come out today because he really wanted to come see you, Coach. But he wanted to. I said, we're at Hollywood today. He's like, do we have can I get a drink there? They have a bar? I said, yeah, they got a bar. Come on out, man.
Well,
Mike Berry. Talk about Mike.
When previous coach Steve Tapmeyer resigned, and retired at that time, and then he was done, and he and I had conversation, and there were two questions I had for the coach: was how's the training? One. And then the other one was how's the academic help? Do we have academic counselors? Anyway, he tells me about the trainer who had come from Chaminade at the same time Steve Tapmeyer came in, so they were at the same time. And he just said, I'm going to tell you what, Mike Berry is going to be one of the best trainers you've ever been around. And when I got here, it really saved us. We didn't lose any minutes from guys being injured or getting off the floor. And if you have a bad trainer, and those guys can find that training room and get out of practice, and you got trouble.
You'll have about half your team.
It's a problem. And Mike Berry's been tremendous. Now he started his own business and he's gotten out of our own little deal, but he's doing fantastic. And you're right, Kelvin. He's been a great guy, and I know he always speaks real highly of him.
That's my guy. Yeah.
So those are the type of behind-the-scenes things that happen. We could go on and on, like every podcast with this, but the podcast is made to last. It's got to be going for today. I would especially like to thank Hallelujah Entertainment for making sure to present us here at the Sports Extravaganza. Also, our sponsor, State Farm Insurance. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Kincaid's at 314-997-3339, 8429 Holland. I'd also especially like to thank our venue. We're on location here at University City High School. And we'd like to thank Mike Peoples. He's the tremendous principal here. And thank you for letting your house be our house for the day. And of course, I'd like to thank our crack staff led by Curtis Conyers, our director and producer. So, for our host, one of my co-hosts, my man, again, the true Batman, Kelvin Lee, and also our guest for today, Bob Sunvold. I'm Tony Dean.
One more thing, Tony.
You got one
more thing, Curtis, before we go. All
there
right.
we go. You
Bob,
got
I'd like to
like
thank you
this
for
every
coming on
time.
today, Bob. I appreciate you. And again, we're building something special here at your city, and you and your staff are more than welcome anytime to come in our gym and check out our players. Anytime. We're going to have something, by the way. I got an incoming freshman class that's dynamic. All right. So again, I want to throw that out there. Okay.
You've always figured out how to get that dynamic
Dynamic coach. I just want to throw that out there. And next week's show, again, is going to keep this thing going. The podcast is built to last.
Oh, yeah.
Again, Richard Bird Hamilton,
That's right.
legendary coach at Beaumont, will be next week.
That's right.
So again, stay
Heck of a
tuned.
player in his own right, too. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us here on the Sports Extravaganza. We'll see you next time, folks.